The sound of breaking glass echoed through the empty chemistry lab. Rachel Harper knelt on the cold tile floor, shards from an expensive beaker scattered around her knees. Preston Wittmann towered above, his fist wrapped tightly in her hair. "Think you're smart, farm trash?" Preston's voice dripped with contempt, his lacrosse teammates forming a circle around them. "Here, my father makes the rules. And you're just a cow from Ohio." Rachel didn't cry, didn't beg. She simply glanced at the wall clock reading 2:47 p.m., then whispered, 15 minutes. Everything changes in 15 minutes. Preston laughed, a sharp bark that bounced off the lab equipment. "In 15 minutes, you'll be expelled for destroying school property." He had no idea what Rachel had just activated on the military-grade watch hidden beneath her sleeve. Before we dive deeper into Rachel's story, I want you to know that stories like hers happen more often than we'd like to admit. If you've ever felt powerless, ever been cornered by someone who thought their privilege made them untouchable, this story is for you. Hit that like button if you believe bullies should face real consequences, and drop a comment about your own experiences. Your stories matter, and together, we're building a community where no one faces injustice alone. Oakwood Preparatory Academy sat nestled among Ohio's endless cornfields, the only private school within 50 miles. With annual tuition hitting $50,000, it served as a haven for the local elite's children. And Preston Wittmann reigned as its untouchable prince. Rachel Harper had transferred in 2 months earlier on a full chemistry scholarship, near-perfect SAT scores. Farm family, father gone too soon. She dressed simply, always sat alone, never fought back when bullied. That very silence painted a target on her back, making her Preston's perfect prey. The harassment started small. "Farm girl smells like cows," "trailer trash on scholarship." Then it escalated to destruction, torn textbooks, stolen assignments, doctored photos spreading like wildfire. Rachel documented everything in a small notebook, photographing each piece of evidence with her outdated phone. Every night at 8 p.m. sharp, Rachel called a strange number. The conversation stayed brief. "How was today?" asked a voice that sounded almost like hers. "Still manageable," Rachel would reply. "Need me yet?" the voice would continue. "Not yet. I'll know when I need you, sis." Back in the chemistry lab, Preston tightened his grip on Rachel's hair. "I heard you applied to MIT. Cute. You think recommendation letters from a school I've destroyed will help?" Blake Morrison, vice captain of lacrosse, held up his phone to record. "Yo, Preston, make this good. Livestream's got 300 viewers already." Rachel's fingers brushed against her tactical smartwatch, a device far from ordinary. This military-grade timepiece could record in 4K with night vision capabilities, offered GPS tracking with surgical precision, and most importantly, streamed directly to encrypted military servers. Every second of her torment was being captured with legally admissible metadata that no lawyer could dispute. "You know what?" Preston released Rachel's hair, pulling scissors from his pocket. "I think Farm Girl needs a new hairstyle, something more fitting for trailer trash." Rachel checked the time again. 2:51 p.m. 11 more minutes. The systematic torture had been building for weeks. Preston's crew had perfected their craft, always striking when no teachers were around, always ensuring their victims had no recourse. They'd driven out 3 scholarship students before Rachel, each one transferring away in shame and silence. But Rachel was different. She wasn't just enduring, she was collecting. "Hold her still," Preston commanded. Ethan and Connor, two more lacrosse players, grabbed Rachel's arms. The scissors made an ominous snipping sound in the air. Yet Rachel remained eerily calm, her eyes fixed on the chemistry lab window. "Wait," Rachel said, her voice steady despite her position. "Let me make one phone call." Preston burst out laughing. "A phone call? What, to your mom at the farm? Or maybe a cow lawyer?" "My sister," Rachel maintained her composure. "She's nearby." "Farm girl has a sister?" Blake mocked, still recording. "Bet she's another loser." Rachel dialed a number from memory. The voice that answered came through the speaker with military precision. "Delta 27. Confirm position." The room fell silent. Rachel's demeanor shifted, her voice becoming cold and professional. "Package compromised. Requesting immediate extraction. Grid reference Tango 49. Copy that. ETA 3 minutes. Rules of engagement? Evidence priority. Subjects are minors." "Roger. Delta 27 inbound." Preston snatched the phone away. "What kind of prank is this? You rehearsing for drama class?" Rachel looked at the clock. 2:54 p.m. "Not a prank. My sister is Staff Sergeant Rebecca Harper, Delta Force, and you just made the biggest mistake of your life." During the chaos, Rachel's backpack had spilled open. Her notebook fell out, revealing pages of strange notations, not chemistry notes, but military tactics, building layouts, camera blind spots, all carefully marked. The truth was beginning to surface, but the boys were too caught up in their game to notice. The door to the chemistry lab burst open. Principal Wittmann stormed in, his face flushed with indignation. "What's happening here?" Preston quickly dropped the scissors. "Dad, this scholarship kid destroyed the lab. Broke equipment worth $5,000. Wittmann didn't need to examine evidence. His verdict came swift and predictable. "Harper, my office, now." "That won't be necessary," Rachel stood, brushing glass from her knees. "The FBI will be visiting your office instead. In about 2 minutes. You see," Rachel continued, her calm demeanor unnerving everyone present, "my twin sister and I are 99% identical. Rebecca joined Delta Force, while I became bait. These past 2 months, I've collected everything. Not just the bullying. Your corruption too, Principal Wittmann." The principal's face drained of color. "This girl is delusional. Expel her immediately." Rachel's laptop sat open on the lab bench, its reinforced casing suggesting military specifications. The screen displayed Intercept Airs, the FBI's digital investigation platform. This software connected directly to federal databases, analyzing metadata and tracing financial transactions with frightening efficiency. Bold letters flashed across the screen. "Oakwood Prep, RICO investigation active, 47 counts." "Every slush fund transaction," Rachel explained, her voice gaining strength. "Every grade sold to wealthy parents. Every federal grant diverted to personal accounts. Did you really think no one would notice $2 million missing from scholarship funds?" Preston's confidence began to crack. "You're lying. This is all fake." The distant thrum of helicopter rotors cut through the afternoon air. Through the window, a Black Hawk descended onto the school's pristine football field. The chemistry lab door exploded inward as 3 Delta Force operators in full tactical gear swept in, weapons lowered but ready. The lead operator removed her helmet, revealing a face identical to Rachel's, but with eyes that had seen war. Rebecca Harper, Staff Sergeant, Delta Force, surveyed the scene with lethal calm. "Rach, you okay?" "I'm fine, sis. Got everything we need." Sirens wailed across campus as a convoy of FBI vehicles poured through Oakwood's gates. Students pressed against windows, phones recording history in the making. Within minutes, #Oakwood corruption was trending nationwide. Agent Martinez entered the lab, his badge catching the fluorescent lights. "Richard Wittmann, you're under arrest for embezzlement of federal funds, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. Preston Wittmann, you're under arrest for assault, harassment, and extortion." Rebecca connected her military tablet to the lab's display screen. Files cascaded across the monitor like a digital avalanche. Scholarship funds embezzled, $2 million. Grades bought and sold, $500,000 per student. Ghost employees on payroll, 17 teachers who existed only on paper. And the crown jewel, Preston had been blackmailing 12 other students, using compromising videos to ensure their silence. The lab door opened again as students flooded in, no longer afraid. Ashley Chen, last year's victim, stepped forward. "I have proof of Preston's extortion. He threatened to release private photos unless I paid him." Jamie Rodriguez joined her. "Me too. He filmed me at a party and demanded money to keep quiet." One by one, victims found their voices. 2 years of enforced silence shattered in moments. "This is entrapment," Principal Wittmann shouted as agents cuffed him. "They set us up." Rebecca stepped closer, her voice sharp as winter steel. "Not entrapment. Intelligence gathering operation. Rachel made the perfect operative, brilliant, patient, invisible. And me, I was always her backup plan." Preston trembled as reality crashed down. You tricked me." Rachel shook her head slowly. "No, Preston. I stayed silent so you'd expose yourself. Every confession, every threat, every crime, all recorded with perfect chain of custody. You hanged yourself. I just provided the rope." The FBI led the Wittmanns out in handcuffs, while news crews captured every moment. 5 board members followed, then 3 teachers who'd accepted bribes. An entire network of corruption collapsed in a single afternoon. Blake Morrison, still clutching his phone and live-streaming to thousands, turned to Rachel. "Weki, why go through all this?" "Because silence enables evil." Rachel looked directly into his camera lens. "Sometimes, to protect the innocent, you have to pretend weakness to expose the wicked. Every student watching this needs to know. Document everything, speak up when ready, and never let privilege silence justice." 2 weeks passed in a blur of federal investigations and media coverage. Oakwood Preparatory Academy found itself under government oversight, its hallways now patrolled by federal marshals instead of entitled athletes. The lacrosse team had been disbanded, their trophy case removed and replaced with a memorial to the victims of systematic bullying. Rachel Harper sat in what used to be Preston's favorite spot in the cafeteria, no longer the isolated farm girl eating alone. Students who once avoided her now approached with grateful smiles and whispered thanks. She'd become something she never intended, a symbol of resistance against corrupted power. Principal Angela Martinez, wife of the FBI agent who'd led the arrests, called an assembly. The entire student body filled the auditorium, a sea of faces still processing the dramatic shifts in their world. "The era of corruption at Oakwood has ended," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of federal authority. "Every student here, regardless of wealth or background, will be protected equally." And to prove this commitment, Rachel walked onto the stage, no longer hunched or trying to disappear. She wore the standard Oakwood uniform, but with a new addition, a badge reading Student Safety Council Director. "The Student Safety Council will investigate all complaints," Rachel addressed her peers, her voice clear and confident. anonymous reporting with military-grade encryption, and a direct line to the FBI. You're not alone anymore. You never have to be. The crowd erupted in applause, but Rachel noticed something in the back row. A group of younger students, freshmen who'd been Preston's latest targets, held up a banner. "Thank you, Rachel. You gave us hope." After the assembly, Rebecca found Rachel in their makeshift command center, the old chemistry lab converted into the Safety Council office. Military-grade communication equipment lined one wall, while the other displayed a map of the school with new security cameras marked in green. "Proud of you, little sister," Rebecca said, though they were born only minutes apart. 2 months of taking their abuse, documenting everything. That took more strength than any combat mission I've run. Rachel pulled up footage on her laptop, Preston Wittmann in an orange jumpsuit at his sentencing hearing. The judge's words echoed through the speakers. 18 months in juvenile detention, 3 years probation, and mandatory psychological counseling. Mr. Wittmann, your father's money can't buy you out of federal charges. Richard Wittmann had fared worse. 20 years in federal prison for embezzlement, money laundering, and racketeering. The investigation had uncovered a network of corruption spanning 3 states and 17 private schools. Oakwood was just the beginning. The other schools, Rachel mused, studying the data. Edison Academy in Michigan is showing the same financial patterns. A senator's daughter reached out. She's being blackmailed by the principal's son. Rebecca leaned over the screen, her tactical mind already planning. Different state, different laws. Michigan allows recording without consent if you're party to the conversation. Makes evidence gathering easier. "Should I go?" Rachel asked, though she already knew the answer. "We go," Rebecca corrected. "This time, no 2-month wait. We hit them fast and hard." But their planning was interrupted by a knock. Ashley Chen entered, followed by Jamie Rodriguez and 6 other students Preston had tormented. They carried boxes of evidence, notebooks, USB drives, printed screenshots. "We want to help," Ashley said simply. Preston wasn't the only predator at Oakwood. "There's a teacher, Mr. Harrison. He targets freshman girls. We've been collecting evidence like you taught us." Rachel felt a surge of pride mixed with sorrow. She'd hoped to spare others from needing these skills, but reality demanded otherwise. "Show me everything. We'll build the case together." The next hours blurred into investigation mode. Rachel taught them proper evidence handling, chain of custody procedures, and how to spot grooming behaviors. Rebecca added tactical awareness, escape routes, safe zones, and emergency protocols. By sunset, they'd compiled enough evidence to launch a federal investigation into Mr. Harrison. But more importantly, they'd created something unprecedented. A student-led intelligence network dedicated to protecting the vulnerable. Local news picked up the story first. "Farm Girl becomes FBI's secret weapon," read the headlines. Then, national media arrived. Rachel declined most interviews, but one quote spread across social media like wildfire. "Bullies count on silence. We're done being silent." The ripple effects reached far beyond Oakwood. Schools across the country reported increased bullying reports as students felt empowered to speak up. The Harper method, as media dubbed it, became a template for exposing institutional corruption. Gather evidence quietly. Build an airtight case. Then strike with overwhelming legal force. 3 months later, Rachel stood before a congressional hearing on education reform. Senators who'd once ignored constituent complaints about school corruption now listened intently as she outlined systematic failures in private school oversight. Privileged predators hide behind institutional protection, Rachel testified, her farm girl persona long abandoned. They weaponize wealth against scholarship students, minorities, anyone they deem inferior. But when we document, organize, and refuse to be silenced, their power crumbles. The Harper School Safety Act passed 6 months later, mandating federal oversight for all private schools receiving government funds. Anonymous reporting systems became mandatory. Financial audits turned quarterly instead of yearly. And most importantly, retaliation against whistleblowers became a federal crime. Preston Wittmann served his full sentence. His father's empire collapsed as more victims came forward. The Wittmann family fortune, built on generations of corruption, was seized under RICO statutes and redistributed to their victims. But victory carried a price. Rachel couldn't return to normal teenage life. The girl who'd wanted to study chemistry and help on the family farm had become something else entirely. A specialist in infiltrating corrupt institutions. Some nights, she wondered if she'd lost herself in the role. Rebecca understood. "Combat changes you," she said one evening as they reviewed files on Edison Academy. "You can't see evil and remain untouched, but you chose to channel that change into justice. That's what separates us from them." The Edison Academy operation launched on a crisp October morning. This time, Rachel enrolled as Riley Henderson, a theater kid from rural Wisconsin. Same pattern: quiet, talented, scholarship-dependent. Perfect bait for entitled predators. Within 1 week, she'd identified the ringleader. Christopher Ashford, son of State Senator Patricia Ashford. His specialty was cyber blackmail, using deep-fake technology to create compromising images of female students. 12 victims so far, each paying monthly to keep fake photos from destroying their futures. Rachel documented everything, while Rebecca coordinated with federal cybercrimes units. The technology angle added complexity. They needed to prove the images were fabricated while protecting victims from further exposure. The breakthrough came when Christopher made his fatal mistake. Drunk on power and assuming another easy mark, he showed Rachel his setup, an entire server room hidden in his family's mansion, containing not just student material, but evidence of his mother's political corruption. "Insurance," he bragged, unaware that Rachel's tactical pen contained a camera recording every word. "Mom thinks she controls me with trust fund threats, but I've got enough dirt to bury her whole career." The FBI raid on Edison Academy made Oakwood look tame by comparison. Senator Ashford's arrest on the Senate floor became the most-watched C-SPAN footage in history. Christopher faced federal cyber-terrorism charges. 12 victims were freed from monthly extortion. But during the raid, something unexpected emerged. Christopher's server contained files on dozens of other schools, a nationwide network of entitled predators sharing tactics and protecting each other. The corruption ran deeper than anyone imagined. Rachel sat in her hotel room that night, staring at the evidence. Each file represented hundreds of victims, thousands of lives derailed by those who believed wealth placed them above consequences. She thought of her father, who'd died working 3 jobs to give his daughters opportunities. He'd believed in American meritocracy, that hard work could overcome any obstacle. These files proved how naive that faith had been. Rebecca found her there, laptop glowing in the darkness. "It's too much," Rachel whispered. "We stop one, 10 more pop up. It's like fighting smoke." "No," Rebecca said firmly. "It's like clearing a minefield, one at a time, with patience and precision. Each predator we stop can't hurt anyone else. Each corrupt institution we expose gets reformed. It's slow, but it's progress." A notification popped up on Rachel's secure phone. Another request for help, this time from a military academy in Virginia. The commandant's son was hazing scholarship cadets with increasing violence. One had already been hospitalized, officially from a training accident. Rachel closed her eyes, feeling the weight of endless battles ahead. She thought of the Oakwood students now walking safely in hallways that once terrorized them. Ashley Chen had started pre-law, determined to become a prosecutor. Jamie Rodriguez was teaching younger students about digital safety. The ripples of justice spread outward, creating warriors where there had once been victims. "One more school," Rachel said, opening the Virginia files. "We can save them." Rebecca smiled grimly. "That's what we always say. One more school. One more predator. One more chance to balance the scales." As dawn broke over the Michigan hotel, the Harper twins began planning their next operation. Rachel would become Rebecca Ashford, ironically taking the imprisoned senator's surname, a military brat seeking structure and discipline. The bitter irony wasn't lost on either of them. But something else occupied Rachel's thoughts. In Christopher's files, she'd seen a pattern. These weren't random predators, but organized cells, connected by encrypted forums and dark web meetings. They shared tactics, warned each other about threats, and maintained blacklists of troublemaker students who fought back. "They're organized," she told Rebecca, "like a cartel, but for institutional predators." "Then we need to be organized too," Rebecca replied. "Not just us. Every victim who's found their voice, every student willing to stand up. We build our own network." The plan formed quickly. The Harper Network, survivors and allies connected through military-grade encryption, sharing intelligence and supporting each other. Within 3 months, they had cells in 43 schools across 19 states. Rachel stood before her laptop, recording a message for the network's launch. No longer the farm girl from Ohio, or the dozen false identities she'd worn since. She was something new. A general in a war most people didn't know existed. To every student watching this who's been told to stay quiet, who's been threatened into silence, who's been crushed by those with power, you're not alone. Document everything. Trust the process. Justice isn't instant, but it is inevitable. The message went live at midnight, spreading through encrypted channels to students nationwide. Within hours, reports flooded in. A principal in Texas selling college recommendations, a coach in Florida running a grade-fixing scheme, a board member in California embezzling scholarship funds. Rachel looked at the map of America, red dots marking each reported case. So many battles ahead, so many victims waiting for justice. The farm girl from Ohio was gone, replaced by something harder and necessary. Rebecca placed a hand on her shoulder. "Remember what Dad used to say? You can't save everyone, but everyone you save matters." Rachel nodded, then opened the next case file. Edison Academy was secured, but Winchester Prep in Virginia awaited. And after that, another school, another predator, another chance to prove that privilege couldn't purchase innocence. The Harper twins had found their war. Not in distant countries, but in the hallways of American schools, where wealth and power had corrupted the very institutions meant to nurture young minds. They couldn't win every battle, but they'd ensure the predators no longer hunted unopposed. As Rachel crafted her new identity for the Virginia infiltration, she thought of all the students still suffering in silence. Her next words became the Harper Network's unofficial motto, spoken at the end of every encrypted communication. "The hunt continues, and we never stop hunting alone." The words echoed through secure channels to students in Maine lighthouses and Louisiana bayous, from Montana ranches to New York penthouses. Each recipient understood the weight behind them, They weren't just fighting individual bullies anymore, but an entire system that had protected predators for generations. Rachel's computer showed 47 active operations, 200 trained observers, and over 1,000 documented cases building toward prosecution. Some nights she still dreamed of chemistry equations and cornfields, of the simple life she'd planned before Preston Wittmann chose her as his target. But those dreams felt distant now, replaced by a harder purpose. The farm girl was gone, but what emerged was exactly what the broken system needed. Someone who refused to let privilege win.